Gentlemen, I need you to hear this with an open heart. Thousands of men your age sit across from me every year with the same expression, eyes tired, voice cracking, hands shaking, because they don't understand how they lost the woman they love. They tell me, "Doctor, she doesn't touch me anymore. She turns away. She says she's tired." They think it's age. They think their bodies have failed them. They blame testosterone, medications, stress, but none of that is the real reason. Intimacy doesn't die because you got older. It dies because the emotional connection silently disappeared while you were busy trying to fix the physical side of the problem. Women stop wanting intimacy not because they lose desire, but because they stop feeling understood, valued, and emotionally safe. And the most painful part is this: they rarely say a word, they quietly shut down, and men never know why until it's too late. But it's not too late for you. In the next 24 hours, you can change everything and rebuild the connection you thought was gone forever. My name is Dr. Mohit Kara. I'm a urologist and men's health specialist with over 30 years of clinical experience. Before we go any further, take a moment to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another message that could change your life and your relationships. And tell me in the comments, type 1 if you want deeper connection and passion again, or 0 if you feel like it's already slipping away. Now, let's talk about the real reason intimacy begins to die. 1. Men fear what they don't understand. Gentlemen, let me begin with a truth that may hit you harder than anything you've heard before. The moment a woman feels judged, misunderstood, or rejected in the bedroom, something inside her shuts down, and once that door closes, it is one of the hardest things in the world to reopen. I have watched strong men, proud men, good men break down in front of me because they realized years too late that the silence, the distance, and the coldness they felt from their partner did not begin with menopause, or hormones, or age. It began the moment they reacted with fear or discomfort to something they never understood. It began with confusion, with hesitation, with a sudden withdrawal that seemed small at the time but felt enormous to her. Most men are never taught how a woman's body works, how deeply emotional intimacy is tied to physical experience, or how vulnerable women feel during the most intimate moments. And because they don't know, they often respond not with openness, but with fear. Fear disguised as awkwardness, fear disguised as silence, fear disguised as turning off the lights, avoiding touch, pretending to be tired, or quietly pulling away. Fear that whispers, "I don't know how to handle this," but sounds to her like, "I don't want you." And that single moment, just a look, just a hesitation, just a breath out of place, can echo inside her for months, even years. She remembers the expression on your face. She remembers the tension in your body. She remembers how you pulled back instead of leaning in. You may forget, she never does. Because for a woman, rejection in intimacy is not about sex. It's about identity. It is about feeling unwanted, unseen, unappreciated. It is about wondering, am I still beautiful? Am I still desirable? Am I still enough? You see, men fear what they don't understand, but women hurt from what they feel but cannot say. You may not understand why she changed, why she stopped initiating, why she began turning off the lights, why she stopped responding to your touch. But inside her mind, she is replaying a moment when she felt suddenly unsafe, unloved, or unaccepted. And instead of fighting for connection, she chose self-protection, because self-protection feels safer than vulnerability. This is how intimacy dies, not with a dramatic ending, but with a quiet drifting apart. Not with shouting, but with silence. Not in a single night, but over years of small misunderstandings that neither of you knew how to talk about. And if you have ever felt her slipping away, ever noticed her turning colder, ever wondered why she no longer reaches for you the way she once did, I promise you this: it did not begin in her body. It began in her heart. But the powerful truth is that what was lost can be rebuilt. What closed can be opened again. And when a man learns to replace fear with understanding, hesitation with acceptance, confusion with curiosity, the entire relationship transforms. So let's go deeper into the truth few men have ever heard and even fewer have ever understood, because the next secret may change everything you thought you knew about intimacy. 2. Vaginal fluids are not dirty. They are biological genius. Gentlemen, prepare yourself, because what I am about to say may challenge everything you were taught, everything you assumed, and everything you believed about a woman's body. The greatest tragedy I witness in relationships is how many men silently recoil, hesitate, or pull away the moment they encounter a woman's natural fluids, treating them as something embarrassing, something messy, something to avoid or wipe away quickly. That single moment, often unspoken and unnoticed by the man, can cut a woman deeper than any argument ever could. Because when you reject her natural expression of intimacy, you are not rejecting fluid. You are rejecting her trust, her vulnerability, her body, and her heart. Vaginal fluids are not dirty. They are not waste. They are not something shameful. They are one of the most extraordinary biological systems ever designed. Nature's way of protecting, nourishing, and preparing the body for connection. They come from three major sources. The Bartholin's glands, which create silky lubrication to reduce friction and prevent tearing. The Skene's glands, sometimes called the female prostate, which respond to arousal and increase moisture and sensitivity. And the cervix, which produces mucus that protects the delicate internal environment from infection and imbalance. These fluids contain water, enzymes, amino acids, minerals, and lactic acid, ingredients engineered to keep intimacy safe and intensely pleasurable. When a woman's body releases these fluids, it is not a mistake or an inconvenience. It is a signal. It is the body's way of saying, I feel safe with you, I trust you, I want to open to you. It is a biological expression of readiness, desire, and emotional connection. But when a man reacts with discomfort, disgust, or withdrawal, even unintentionally, she does not experience it as a reaction to a physical substance. She experiences it as rejection of her femininity, rejection of her desirability, rejection of the deepest part of herself. And that moment does not fade. It settles into her memory and becomes a quiet wall between you. Many women have carried shame about their bodies for decades. Shame taught by silence, by embarrassment, by partners who did not understand what they were seeing. When you reject her fluids, you reaffirm the message that something about her is wrong. But when you embrace them, you heal wounds she may have carried since she was a young woman. You turn self-consciousness into confidence, fear into freedom, and hesitation into desire. You create a space where she can stop hiding, stop apologizing, stop fearing judgment, and surrender completely into intimacy. The truth is simple. When you learn to celebrate what her body naturally creates, everything changes. She relaxes, she opens, she lets go, and desire begins to flow again, not because you performed perfectly, but because she felt emotionally safe. And if you think taste and smell are reasons to pull away, you are about to learn something that will change your perspective forever. Because what comes next will rewrite everything you thought you knew about women. 3. Smell and taste are normal and natural. Gentlemen, let me ask you something that may feel uncomfortable for a moment, but it needs to be said with complete honesty. How many marriages, how many relationships, how many intimate connections have died silently because a man reacted with even the slightest expression of discomfort to the natural scent or taste of a woman's body? One raised eyebrow, one moment of hesitation, one comment spoken too quickly, or even an awkward shift in breathing can shatter a woman's confidence more deeply than any physical failure ever could. I have seen women in tears, decades into marriage, confess that the moment their partner recoiled, paused, or pulled away during oral intimacy was the moment they felt something inside them break forever. They didn't talk about it, but they carried that wound quietly, and everything changed after that. Most men don't realize this truth. Smell and taste are not flaws, not imperfections, not something to correct or fear. They are living evidence of a body responding to desire, changing with emotion, shaped by chemistry, biology, and time. No two women are the same, and the same woman will not taste or smell identical every day of her life. Just like your body changes with food, hydration, medication, stress, and age, so does hers. Pineapple, citrus, and water may create a lighter profile, while coffee, alcohol, garlic, or onions may deepen it. Hormones shift it too. During ovulation, she may taste neutral. During menstruation, slightly metallic. After menopause, a bit more acidic. That is not something to judge. That is something to understand. Variation is not a problem. It is nature. It is the body in motion, adjusting, responding, evolving. And when a man reacts with acceptance, curiosity, and warmth instead of discomfort or criticism, something extraordinary happens inside her. Her body relaxes, her nervous system settles, her heart opens, and her desire grows, because acceptance is the most powerful aphrodisiac a woman will ever experience. Women do not want perfection. They want to feel safe. They want to feel desired. They want to feel chosen even in their most vulnerable moments. They want to know that the man they love embraces not just their beauty, but their reality. And if there is ever a sudden unpleasant change, a strong odor that feels unfamiliar or comes with pain or discomfort, that is not a reason to judge or pull away. That is an invitation to support her, to gently suggest seeing a doctor, to be a partner instead of a critic. Most of those changes are simply temporary imbalances, such as a mild infection or irritation, easily treated, quickly resolved. But shame, once created, does not heal easily. It lingers. It grows. It builds walls. Because rejection in intimacy is not about hygiene. It is about humiliation. And acceptance is not about tolerance. It is about love. And now that you understand how deeply a simple reaction can shape a woman's heart, it's time to confront the real enemy of intimacy, the silent killer that destroys more relationships than age or illness ever could. 4. Silence is the real enemy. Gentlemen, brace yourself for this truth, because it may be the most painful realization of all. Most relationships do not end because of betrayal, or illness, or lack of desire. They end because two people who once couldn't stop talking eventually stopped speaking about the things that mattered most. Intimacy does not die with a single argument. It dies when both partners become afraid to say what they really feel. It dies in silence. I have watched men in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s sit in my office, their hands trembling, their eyes full of regret, saying, "Doctor, I wish I had talked to her earlier. I wish I had asked what she needed. I wish I had told her what I was afraid of." They waited too long. They swallowed their fears, their questions, their embarrassment. And while they stayed silent, the woman they loved withdrew into silence too, building walls brick by brick, year after year, until neither one knew how to reach the other anymore. They didn't lose intimacy because they stopped loving each other. They lost intimacy because they stopped communicating. Silence is not neutral. Silence is not safety. Silence is a slow poison. A woman does not pull away because she doesn't care. She pulls away because she doesn't know how to say, "I'm hurting." A man does not get quieter because he's cold. He gets quieter because he doesn't know how to say, "I'm scared." And while both wait for the other to speak first, connection dissolves grain by grain, the same way sand slips through fingers. A change in smell, a question about safety, a fear about performance, a desire to try something new. These conversations are rarely spoken, not because they don't matter, but because they matter too much. Both partners assume silence preserves peace, when in truth, silence destroys peace. Silence says nothing, but communicates everything. Silence tells her she's alone. Silence tells him he's failing. Silence turns small problems into lifelong distance. I have met women who spent 20 years believing their husbands were no longer attracted to them, when the truth was simply that their husbands were too embarrassed to talk about fear or confusion. I have met men who felt rejected for a decade, not knowing their partner was silently waiting for reassurance, a touch, a question, anything that said, "I still want you." And the tragedy is that both blamed themselves when all they needed was a single honest conversation. The most intimate act a couple can share is not sex. It is the courage to speak with tenderness. It is the courage to say, "This feels different," instead of pretending nothing changed. It is the courage to ask, "How can I make you feel safe?" instead of assuming you already know. Because silence creates walls, but communication creates doors. And once those doors begin to open, something remarkable happens. Tension softens, defensiveness dissolves, and desire begins to return, not from the body, but from the heart. And now that we understand silence is the enemy, it is time to uncover the most powerful tool to rebuild intimacy, not performance, not technique, but the one thing women need more than anything else to feel desire again. The secret is emotional safety. And what I'm about to reveal next may change everything you believed about what truly makes a man unforgettable in the bedroom. 5. Emotional safety is the strongest performance enhancer. Gentlemen, hear this clearly. The most powerful force in the bedroom is not physical strength, not stamina, not size, and not technique. The strongest performance enhancer on earth is something far more human, far more profound, and far more deeply desired by women than any physical act. It is emotional safety, and without it, nothing else matters. You can buy every pill, every device, every supplement, learn every position in every book, and still fail, because a woman cannot respond sexually when she does not feel emotionally safe. I have spoken to countless women who told me the exact same heartbreaking truth. I didn't stop wanting intimacy because I lost desire. I stopped because I stopped feeling safe with him. They weren't talking about physical danger. They were talking about emotional vulnerability, the fear of being judged, the fear of being rejected, the fear of disappointing the man they love. Women need a foundation of emotional safety before their bodies can open, before desire awakens, before pleasure becomes possible. When a woman feels emotionally unsafe, when she senses irritation, criticism, impatience, disappointment, or pressure, her body shuts down, her mind disconnects, her desire disappears. Not because she doesn't love you, not because she doesn't want you, but because fear and shame close the door to arousal. And here is the truth most men never learn. The female body responds not to pressure, but to peace, not to dominance, but to presence, not to performance, but to connection. Emotional safety creates a chemical reaction inside a woman's body, releasing oxytocin, increasing lubrication, lowering cortisol, calming anxiety, and opening the pathways for pleasure. Emotional safety tells her nervous system that she can relax, that she is valued, that she is seen, and that she is allowed to surrender. When a woman feels emotionally safe, her body becomes responsive, sensitive, and alive. Intimacy becomes effortless, natural, organic. She participates, she initiates, she desires, not because she is expected to, but because she wants to. And the power, gentlemen, is in your hands. Emotional safety is not created by perfection. It is created by presence, by slow touch, by listening, by patience, by saying, "You're safe with me," by holding her afterward, not rolling away, by asking what she needs, not assuming, by speaking gently in the moments when she is most vulnerable. The men who create emotional safety are the men women never forget, even after decades. A woman's greatest desire is not to be impressed, it is to be understood. Her deepest craving is not physical satisfaction, it is to be emotionally accepted without condition. The strongest erection begins in the heart. The greatest pleasure begins with trust. The most unforgettable intimacy begins when she feels fully seen. And once you understand that emotional safety is the foundation of everything, you begin to see intimacy differently, not as performance, but as partnership. Not as pressure, but as connection. And this leads us to the next truth, one that separates boys from men and men from leaders. Because intimacy is not about mechanics. It is about emotional leadership. And what comes next may completely reshape how you show up in the bedroom and in your relationship. 6. Intimacy is more than mechanics. It's emotional leadership. Gentlemen, let me shock you with a truth most men never hear. A woman does not fall in love with what you do to her body. She falls in love with how you make her feel about herself. You can know every technique, every rhythm, every so-called secret that magazines and the internet promise. But if she doesn't feel emotionally led, emotionally held, and emotionally guided into intimacy, none of it matters. Because intimacy is not a physical act you perform. Intimacy is an emotional journey you lead. I have watched men who worked their whole lives building companies, leading teams, raising families, making decisions with strength and confidence. Yet, when the bedroom door closed, they suddenly became hesitant, passive, waiting for their partner to take control because they feared doing the wrong thing. They believed leadership belonged only in the boardroom or workplace, not in the most intimate space between two human beings. But here is what women reveal in private, tearfully and honestly. Nothing is more attractive, more reassuring, or more deeply arousing than a man who leads with calm confidence, not pressure, with presence, not performance. Leadership in intimacy does not mean dominance, control, or forcing anything. True leadership is gentle direction. It is the ability to set the tone, to create safety, to read her responses, to slow down when she tenses, to accelerate when she opens, to speak softly when she needs reassurance. It is the ability to say, without words, I am here, you are safe. I know what we're building together. Women crave leadership because leadership allows them to let go. It releases them from pressure to manage every moment. It frees them to feel, to surrender, to trust. And that trust is what awakens desire. When a woman feels emotionally led, she does not hold back. She does not overthink. She does not worry if she's doing something wrong. She falls into the moment. She lets her body respond naturally, and intimacy becomes effortless. Men often think women want intensity, complexity, or performance. But the truth is far simpler. They want emotional clarity. They want to feel guided, supported, understood. They want to feel the quiet strength that says, I'm not going anywhere. And here is the deeper truth. Emotional leadership begins long before the bedroom. It begins in the way you listen without judgment, the way you hold her when she cries, the way you stay calm during conflict, the way you notice small details, the way you choose patience over frustration. Physical intimacy is simply the extension of emotional intimacy. The bedroom is the reward for leadership demonstrated in everyday life, because when she feels led emotionally, she chooses you physically. When she feels protected emotionally, she opens without fear. And when she feels valued emotionally, she gives not out of obligation, but out of desire. That is the moment intimacy becomes art, not effort. And now that you understand the power of emotional leadership, it's time to uncover something equally transformative, the one quality that becomes more attractive to women with every passing year, far beyond physical appearance or sexual ability. It is the quiet strength that pulls her closer and makes her feel chosen again. And the next truth might just rewrite everything you believe about what makes a man desirable. 7. Confidence is more attractive than physical perfection. Gentlemen, let me start with something that may shake you to your core. A woman does not fall out of love with you because your body changed, because you gained weight, because your hair thinned, or because you can't perform the way you once did. What truly pushes her away is watching the man she loves stop believing in himself. The day a man loses confidence is the day intimacy stops, not because she stopped desiring him, but because he stopped showing up with the strength and presence she once admired. Confidence is the most powerful form of attraction a man will ever possess, and when it disappears, everything else begins to crumble around it. I have seen men who once carried themselves with certainty slowly shrink into insecurity when things changed sexually. Their shoulders dropped, their voice softened, their eyes lost spark, they apologized for their bodies, they avoided intimacy out of fear of disappointing her, and they didn't realize the damage until it was too late. Women are not turned off by aging. They are turned off by a man who stops looking at himself with pride, who stops leading with his heart, who stops believing he deserves to be desired. A man does not become unattractive because his body changes. He becomes unattractive when he lets shame replace confidence. And here is the truth. Women confess privately. They don't need a perfect body. They don't need flawless performance. They don't need youth or stamina or size. What they crave is the quiet power of a man who stands tall, who meets their eyes, who reaches out with intention, who touches with certainty, who communicates without apology. Confidence says, I choose you. Insecurity says, I'm afraid you won't choose me back. Desire dies when fear walks in. Desire ignites when confidence enters the room. Confidence is not arrogance. It is not loud or controlling. Confidence is calm, steady, grounded presence. It is holding her close without hesitation. It is initiating intimacy without fear. It is saying, "I want you," instead of asking, "Is this okay?" It is moving with purpose rather than waiting for permission. Confidence tells a woman she is desired. Insecurity tells her she is a burden. And when a woman feels desired, she awakens. She becomes playful again. She becomes expressive again. Her eyes light up. Her body responds. Her heart opens. Because nothing is more emotionally arousing to a woman than being chosen fully by a man who believes in himself. Confidence is oxygen for intimacy. Without it, passion suffocates. With it, passion thrives. So understand this. If you want to revive intimacy, do not start with technique. Start with the way you carry yourself. Stand taller. Speak with certainty. Lead with presence. Look at her the way you did when you first fell in love. Because she is not waiting for perfection, she is waiting for the man who once made her feel alive. And now that you understand the true power of confidence, it's time to reveal the final truth, one that will reshape the way you think about passion itself and why the most fulfilling intimacy of your life may still be ahead of you. 8. Passion doesn't retire, but it needs maintenance. Gentlemen, let me say something that might shake you awake. Passion does not fade because time passes. Passion fades because people stop feeding it. It dies not from age, but from neglect. I have met men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s who believe intimacy slipped away because life changed, because bodies changed, because the years simply carried love into silence. But that is not the truth. Passion is not a flame that burns forever on its own. It is a fire that requires fuel, attention, and choice. It dies only when both partners assume it will survive without care. I have sat across from couples who spent 30 years building a life together, raising children, paying bills, surviving hardships, only to look at each other one day and realize they became roommates instead of lovers. Not because the love disappeared, but because they stopped feeding it. They stopped kissing with intention. They stopped touching without purpose. They stopped holding each other for no reason at all. They stopped prioritizing time alone. They stopped listening. They stopped trying. And without knowing it, they let distance replace desire. That distance didn't appear suddenly. It grew slowly, quietly, invisibly, through 1,000 missed moments of connection. Passion is not young. Passion is practiced. Passion is not spontaneous magic. Passion is deliberate maintenance. It is the daily decision to reach out instead of turning away. It is choosing closeness instead of convenience. It is creating moments instead of waiting for them. Passion is built by small actions repeated with heart. A long embrace in the kitchen, a kiss that lingers, a hand resting on the lower back, a surprise touch, an honest conversation, a shared laugh, a gentle apology, a slow walk together, a whispered compliment, a night without television, a morning without rushing. Passion grows where attention lives. It withers where assumptions settle. And here is the beautiful truth most men never realize. You can reignite desire at any age. The body responds to intention. The heart responds to effort. The nervous system responds to safety. The soul responds to feeling chosen. You do not need youth to be desirable. You do not need perfect performance to be unforgettable. You need presence. You need consistency. You need effort. Intimacy is not something you lose forever. It is something you rebuild with devotion. The couples who experience the most powerful intimacy in later life are not the ones who never struggled. They are the ones who refused to quit. They learn that romance is not something that happens to you. It is something you create every single day in small but meaningful ways. Passion thrives where love is practiced, not where it is assumed. So ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you reached for her hand just to feel connected? When was the last time you kissed her without expecting anything in return? When was the last time you looked into her eyes long enough for her to feel truly seen? These moments matter more than any pill, any technique, any plan. They rebuild the bridge between two hearts. And now that you understand what destroys passion and what brings it back, you are ready for the most important moment of this entire journey. Because what comes next is not advice. It is a challenge that could change the rest of your life, and it begins right now with one simple decision that separates men who reclaim intimacy from those who lose it forever. Let's talk about what happens next. Conclusion. Passion doesn't expire, and neither should you. Gentlemen, if you are still here with me, then you already know this message was meant for you. Everything you've heard today leads to one unshakable truth. Intimacy is not lost because of age, or hormones, or physical decline. Intimacy is lost when understanding disappears, when silence replaces honesty, when fear replaces confidence, and when partners stop choosing each other with intention. Passion does not belong to the young. It belongs to the connected. It belongs to those who are brave enough to remain open when life becomes complicated, when bodies change, when vulnerability feels risky. Passion belongs to those who refuse to give up. If you felt yourself in these words, if you recognized moments when you withdrew, hesitated, avoided a conversation, or pulled away instead of leaning in, then you now have a choice. You can either carry the weight of regret into the next decade, or you can change everything in the next 24 hours. You can rebuild trust with one honest conversation. You can reignite desire with one act of emotional leadership. You can restore connection with one moment of presence. It only takes a decision. Not a dramatic gesture, not a perfect performance, just intention. Imagine what becomes possible when you choose courage instead of silence, curiosity instead of judgment, presence instead of fear. Imagine looking at the woman you love and saying, "I want to understand you more deeply. I want to rebuild what we lost. I want us to feel alive again." Imagine seeing her eyes soften, her body relax, her heart open because she finally feels safe enough to let you back in. That moment is worth more than youth, more than flawless performance, more than anything you once believed defined masculinity. Real strength is not how hard you push, it is how deeply you connect. Real intimacy is not how long you last, it is how present you are. Real passion is not measured by performance, it is measured by trust. You are not too old. It is not too late. You are not finished. I have watched men in their 70s rediscover a level of intimacy they never reached in their 30s. I have watched couples who were ready to walk away from each other learn to fall in love all over again. And I have witnessed men who once felt broken become leaders in their relationships, protectors of emotional safety, creators of deep and lasting passion. That can be you. It begins the moment you stop waiting for intimacy to return on its own and decide to build it deliberately. So here is your challenge. Tonight, sit with the woman you love. Look her in the eyes. Ask her what she needs, what she fears, what she hopes for. Listen without defending, without fixing, without rushing. Hold her hand, touch her face. Tell her you want to rebuild together. And then do it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. Small actions create extraordinary change. If this message spoke to you, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another conversation that could transform your future. And tell me in the comments below, what is the one change you are willing to make starting tonight? Type it, own it, declare it, because passion doesn't expire, and neither should you.